All right, so in 3, 2, 1, we're starting with those air squats. Good job. I'm just going to turn up my volume on my phone so you guys can hear that timer when it goes off. And 10 seconds. Good job. Now we have 20 seconds of rest. And remember, our next movement in 10 seconds is going to be that lateral dumbbell raise. And lifting those dumbbells out to our sides, only up to our shoulder height. So remember, taking it nice and slow and controlled throughout this movement. So try to keep your shoulders relaxed. You don't want your shoulders up or your ears. You want them nice and down and relaxed. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be running on the spot. So remember, I really want you to try to get your arms involved here when we're running on the spot. And start with that run on the spot. And try to speed it up now that we're halfway through. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be those dumbbell front raises. So instead of lifting those dumbbells out to the sides, this time we're going to lift them out in front of our bodies. And so same principles as before. We're just lifting up to our shoulder height, making sure to be nice and slow and controlled throughout this movement. And remember, we're not swinging the dumbbells, we're lifting them actively. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that seated oblique twist. So whether you're sitting down on the floor with me, or if you're doing this from a chair, that's totally fine. So either our feet are up in the air like so, or our heels are down on the ground. And we're taking that dumbbell from side to side. And same principles if you're sitting in a chair. Good job. Then our next movement is going to be our bird dog. So either staying down on the floor and switching to our hands and our knees, or completing this again from a chair. So if we're on our hands and our knees, we're extending our opposite leg and arm. And if we're doing this from a chair, we're sitting down and extending our opposite leg and opposite arm. Good job, everybody. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that lateral leg lift. So standing up now. And so we'll start with our right leg. So lifting that lifting that right leg out to the side here. And we're balancing on our left leg. And so while you balance on your left leg, I want you to think about engaging those core muscles. And switch. So now taking our left leg out to our side and balancing on our right leg. And again, thinking about really engaging those core muscles. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be our bicep curl to a shoulder press. So starting with our palms facing upwards, we're lifting those dumbbells up to our shoulders and then pressing them overheads. And back down to our shoulders, and then taking them back down to our hips. And just going through those motions with nice solid control. Good job. And now our next movement is going to be our lunges. And again, since we already did lunges in the warm-up this time, I want you to try to do your lunges with some weight. So either you can hold that weight up on your shoulders, or you can hold that weight down at your side while you do the lunges. And if one of your hands is occupied holding on to something for some support, I would like your other hand to have some weight in it, just like so. And so if you're only holding one weight throughout the lunges, we're going to switch to holding that weight in our other hand now that we're halfway through. Good job. And now we're going to grab both our weights since our next movement is going to be that deadlift. So feet are under our hips. We're starting with those weights up at our hips, and we're hinging so the weights are down at our shins and pulling them back up again. And remember, trying to keep those weights nice and tight to our body. And we're keeping that back flat throughout the movement. Good job. Now we have a 1-minute rest before we complete that again. So taking a drink of water, taking a minute to catch our breath. And we're starting again in about 20 seconds. And so remember, we're going to start with those air squats again. And similar to the lunges, this time I want you to have some weight while you're doing those air squats. So our options are holding our weights up at our shoulders, holding our weights down at our sides like a suitcase, or holding the one weight at our chest for a goblet squat. So taking whatever variation works for you, I'm going to hold my weights up on my shoulders and completing those squats. So if your weights are up on your shoulders, I want you to try to lift your elbows as high as you can. So notice that my elbows are nice and high as I hold my weights. Good job. And we can keep our weights in our hands since we're going to do that lateral dumbbell raise next. And so just lifting those dumbbells out to our sides. And remember, we're only going to our shoulder height, and we want to try to keep those shoulders nice and down and relaxed. We don't want them up at our ears like this. We want them down and relaxed. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that running on the spot. And if you'd like, you can always hold your weights as you run on the spot. But for this one, I'm going to put my weights to the side. But you do whatever feels best for you today. And starting with that run on the spot. And we're halfway through, so trying to speed it up a little bit. Good job. And our next movement is going to be those front raises. So getting ready with those dumbbells out in front. And lifting those dumbbells up out in front to our shoulder height and then back down. And remember, there's no swinging occurring at my body. I'm just lifting the dumbbells up using my shoulder strength. Good job. Then our next movement is going to be that oblique twist. So again, you can either do this down on the floor or you can do it from a seated position on a chair. And so just taking that dumbbell from side to side, rotating at the core, really trying to engage those core muscles. And we're completing the same movement if we're sitting in a chair as well. Just taking that dumbbell from side to side. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that bird dog. So getting onto our hands and our knees if that's the option we're taking. If we're doing these bird dogs from a seated position, remember we're extending our opposite arm and opposite leg. Otherwise, we're doing the traditional bird dog from our hands and our knees, extending that opposite arm and opposite leg. Good job. And we're going to stand up for our next movement to get ready to do those lateral leg lifts. So starting by lifting our right leg out to the side here. And now switching, so lifting our left leg out to the side, balancing on our right leg. Good job. Our next movement is going to be that bicep curl to a shoulder press. So getting your dumbbells ready. And lifting those dumbbells up to our shoulders, then pressing overhead and just reversing that movement on the way down, making sure to move nice and slow and controlled. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that reverse lunge. So again, remember, I want you to try to keep holding onto your dumbbells for this one. So if you need to hold on to something for support, then our other hand should have a dumbbell in it. Otherwise, we could also do our lunges with our dumbbells up on our shoulders or dumbbells down at our sides like a suitcase carry. And if you're only holding one dumbbell, I will let you know when to switch hands. And switch hands if you're only holding one dumbbell. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that deadlift. So holding those dumbbells out in front of our legs, and we're bringing them down the fronts of our legs and back up again, making sure to keep our back nice and flat, especially as we reach the mid shin. And keeping those dumbbells nice and tight to our body. Good job. And taking another 1 minute rest before we complete that one more time. So making sure to catch our breath here, take a sip of water if you need. And we're starting up again in 10 seconds. And starting with those air squats. And remember, I'd like for you to have some sort of weight with you as you do these squats. So you can do in front rack like I am showing right now. You could do with those weights at your sides like a suitcase carry. Or you can do one weight, hold it at your chest vertically to do a goblet squat. And remember, if we're doing that front rack, we want to keep our elbows nice and high. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that lateral dumbbell raise. So lifting those dumbbells out to our sides, up to our shoulder height, and back down. Good job. Then our next movement is going to be that running on the spot. And running on the spot here. Making sure to keep your arms involved. And speeding up a little bit now that we're halfway through. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be that dumbbell front raise. And lifting those dumbbells out in front of us, up to our shoulder height, back down. Remember, we're not swinging the dumbbells up, we're just lifting, keeping our core nice and stable. And remember, try to keep your shoulders nice and down and relaxed. We don't want our shoulders up at our ears. We want them nice and down and relaxed. Good job. Then our next movement is going to be that seated twist. So whether you're coming down onto the floor or doing this in a chair, either or works. And we're just taking that dumbbell from side to side, rotating at the core, making sure to engage our core muscles and our obliques. Good job. And then our next movement is going to be those bird dogs. So if we're doing that traditional option, we're coming onto our knees and our hands. And we're going to extend our opposite hand and our opposite leg. If that's not available to you, then we're sitting in our chair and we're extending our opposite arm and our opposite leg. Good job. And now we're gonna get up and we're gonna get ready to do that lateral leg lift. And so we'll start by balancing on our left and lifting our right leg out. So lifting that right leg out to the side, making sure to engage our core muscles. And switching sides now. So balancing on our right side, lifting our left leg out to the side now. Good job. Then our next movement is going to be our bicep curl to a shoulder press. So getting ready and holding those dumbbells at our hips now. So lifting those dumbbells up to our shoulders, then pressing them overhead and reversing that movement on the way down. So taking those dumbbells down back to our shoulders, then all the way down back to our hips. And just repeating that movement. Good job. Then our second last movement is going to be that reverse lunge again. So remember, if you're able to, I would like you to hold some weight while you do this, either up at your shoulders like so, down at your sides like a suitcase carry, or if you have one arm holding onto something for support, in the other arm, I would like for you to hold that dumbbell. Choosing whatever option or variation works best for you. And remember, during our lunges, we're trying to keep our chest up nice and tall. Good job. Then our last movement for this workout is going to be our deadlift. So starting with our feet under our hips, And we're bringing those weights down the front of our legs to about our mid shin, keeping our back flat, and then pulling back up again. Making sure to keep those dumbbells nice and tight to our body throughout the whole movement. And good job. That is the end of our Tabata workout.